Welcome to the Gearbox Podcast. I'm your host, Jimmy Purdy. On this podcast, we're not just exploring the latest trends and technologies in the automotive industry, we're also getting real about the journey. Yes, the bumpy road of mistakes and lessons learned hard along the way.
This is the Gearbox Podcast.
I mean, it sounds like from what Dave was saying, you're an influential guy.
Yeah, I've been in the business a long time, and I'm a Napa Auto Care, and I got three shops here in San Diego, and I'm the 2016 Napa ASE Tech of the Year. I work with the ASECA in California, so been state president for a couple of years, and yeah, I do a lot of stuff for the industry. So
pretty humble about it too.
Yeah. I'm blessed.
I'm just checking off the boxes like it's like going down the grocery aisle.
Well, it's I've got to do what I love all my life, and I'm not the richest guy in town, but I pay my bills, and I got a lot of employees, and
they all have a good life.
Done a lot of stuff in the community, so I can't complain one bit.
That's awesome. Well, yeah. I'm happy I had some time to take some time with me, especially having 3 shops in San Diego. I can only imagine how much time that takes out of your day.
Yeah, well, I've got great people, so that's a big help.
That seems to be the trend, right? Like you kind of, for me to think about going from one shop to multiple shops, I'm like, man, I don't know if I have the time for that, right? Like that's crazy. That just seems like so much time, but you got to get the right people,
Absolutely, 100%.
And how do you find them in California? Because I'm up in the Central Coast, so I'm about 4 hours north of you.
Yeah. We find the duds and we move on from them, and then we find people with potential, and we work with them, and sometimes they pan out. Sometimes about the time they're panning out, they're moving on, and it's just a matter of like my general manager. It was kind of funny. We I guess he's been 12, 13 years now. So I was looking for an advisor. It's when I had one shop and I had one advisor, and I was courting this guy, so to speak, and we were talking, and he had been in the industry, out of the industry, wanted to get back in, and I told him, I said, you're gonna be my guy, my only service advisor, blah blah blah. I said, all right, let me think about it. So Friday he calls me up, says, hey, I'm taking this job at this other place. I'm like, oh, okay, well, how come? He says, well, I'm not gonna be the only service advisor. I'm gonna be a different service advisor. There's gonna be other service advisors. I'm like, okay, I can't argue with your logic there. If something changes, just let me know. So he told me where he's working, and I know the owner, and it's like, well, the guy's kind of hard to work for, but yeah, whatever. So Monday morning at about 11 o'clock, I get a call from that owner, and he says, hey, I hear we were both trying to hire the same guy. Do you want me to send you the guy that I'm letting go? And of course I'm like, well, wait a minute. Why are you letting him go?
Yeah, what is he setting me up for?
And he's all, we just have a difference in opinions. Our we just kind of clash. And I'm like, well, I can see that, because I know the guy. He's a little hard to work for. I said, sure, why not? So he comes over, we talk, I hire him. 13 years later, he's my general manager. The guy that I was trying to hire only lasted at that place for 2 months, and then he got out of the industry again. So,
oh man, yeah.
You talk about how did you get the guy or a guy, and that was just a freak thing. I saw that other owner the other day, and he was like, he's reminded me of the favor he did me.
Yeah. I mean, I think we get in trouble of like trying to put a square peg in a round hole, or trying to make someone work when you're just better off letting them go. I mean, I don't know. Like you said, maybe it's like that's just part of the deal. And it feels like every time something like that happens, you think about all the different ways. Like I was just earlier talking about a hiring process. So we do a lot of interviews in the shop. Like we want to make sure we do a shop tour. I've changed the tactics. Like when we get an application, like I want to call right away. Like I don't want to do this email back and forth and set up an interview. Like I'm just gonna call. what's up, man? What are
Yep.
you looking for, right? And
Yep.
then so this last time around, we're like, let's really change it up. So we took them out for drinks. Like there's a local bar here. It's kind of an outdoorsy vibe, little fire pit. I'm like, let's just go sit down and have a drink, get to know each other. And everything was working out really good. I'm like, oh, that was probably the most like easiest interview, because it's so awkward to do an interview. You know, I hate interviews.
Yeah.
But it was like,
right.
it was a good vibe, you know, like cool.
Yeah.
And then I had the rest of the crew there. We're all hanging out. We got to see how everyone interacted. I'm like, sweet.
That's good. Yeah.
Right. So we sent an offer letter. Everything looks good. And then it's been about 4 days. We haven't heard a word from him. I'm like, what did we do wrong?
Oh, not a thing. Not a thing.
Not a thing, right?
Amazing. It's amazing how often, you know, that happens. You know, we give somebody an offer. Oh, that sounds great. I'll start. You know, then their day rolls around. Oh yeah, a tree fell in my mom's house, so I got to go help her. Okay, mom's pretty important. You know, when you come in, well, I don't know. Okay, well, all right. Or yes, they just don't answer or respond. I mean, it's crazy.
What do you do? Do you try to like chase that down and try to follow up, or if that happens, you're just like, you know what, I'm already seeing the red flags and that's it, and you're just moving on?
It really just depends. Like, you know, we've had a couple people that, you know, ran into some personal hiccups before they started, and you know, if everything went well to that point, they were upfront about it. You know, it wasn't like, hey, I know I'm supposed to have been there an hour ago, but I can't be there. You know, that's a big red flag. But you know, it's like, you know, they're supposed to start Monday. They call us on Friday. Hey, this is what's going on. And we've had some pretty good luck, you know, with the few that we've done that for. But we're real selective. You know, we hired a kid I think 3-4 weeks ago. Late his very first day, you know, he's just a helper kid. Late very first day, and then he worked that day, and it's going to shock you, but we never saw him again. You know, and it's just like, you know, where'd you go? So, yeah, it really just depends on the you know, case by case. A lot of times we just move on. Yeah, you're struggling. You can't even make it your first day. Yeah, we're moving on. So
can't help but just kind of laugh at the situation, though. Like, what?
Yeah.
So, what do you want me to do? Did you?
Yeah.
I mean, but like all the time and resource you spend into the whole process, it's just just a pain in the ass, you know. The whole thing.
Yeah. Well, you know, we've gotten smarter over the years, because you know, we used to interview somebody. You know, we you know, like I remember one time I interviewed an office lady, and this was when we were kind of small. And you know, the office lady's job was to drive customers home, pick up parts, paperwork, whatever. You know, we're talking about this stuff, you know, an hour and a half goes by, everything's looking great. Hey, I need a copy of your driver's license. I got to make sure you're insurable, right? She doesn't have a driver's license, even though we discussed her driving customers home and yada yada yada. So that's now one of the first questions that we ask. Hey, you got a valid driver's license? It's saved us a lot of time from, you know, having great interviews and then getting somebody that just doesn't have a driver's license, or, you know, has one but they got 3 DUIs, so it's suspended. And you know, it's funny how that stuff doesn't come out right away. So
yeah, you would think the common sense would lead them to that kind of discretionary on them for themselves. They're like, well, you're going to be driving cars. Don't you think it's important to have a license? And it's amazing some of those questions you got to ask up front. It's like, you know, do you have any drug or alcohol problems that we should be aware of? Like, I got to ask. You know, what's your recreational stuff that you like to do? Even though they're probably not going to tell you, you got to at least ask.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you never know. It's funny, we had this kid years ago that he came in and he had some physical limitations. He limped everywhere. Like the right side of his body just didn't grow like the left side. So he was obviously, you know, struggling with stuff. And one of our questions, you know, do you have any physical limitations that are going to keep you from doing anything? Nope, I'm good. You know, the first day you can't pick up a trash can. It's like, just be honest with us, you know. There's a few things that I can't do, and you know, we kind of knew it, but you know, we're not going to not hire somebody for that. But you know, it's like, just be honest about it.
Yeah, pick and choose your battles, you know. And if it's something you think you can do, then cool, let's get it done. But I mean, I have the problem too with I mean, it goes with training too when you're looking for somebody, you know, not knowing enough. I mean, and that's something that's really hard because it's not a physical thing that you can see, right? Like you don't know.
Right.
You're looking at someone in the eyes, and you're like, "What do you know?" You know,
Yeah, you're
like
right. Yeah. I'm gonna
what do you
stare at
know?
you
But
for a minute so I
like
can
we're
figure out what you know.
yeah, we're gonna figure it out, but that's gonna be really hard unless you can like tell me some baseline stuff. And it's not like I'm
Yeah.
trying to disqualify you because I feel like a lot of people think you're trying to disqualify them, or like
Right.
belittle them.
Yeah.
It's like no,
Yeah.
I just need to know what I can like ship you so that you can make us money so then I can pay you and we can like start evolving something here, right? Like I
Right.
don't need you to prove to me that you're more than what you are. Even though
Yeah.
I think most technicians are, I mean, we're all pretty arrogant. We have big egos. We like to think we can, so you kind of need a little bit of that. But you know what I'm saying? Like that's the hardest part is like the mental
Yeah.
part. Like how much stress can you take? Like
Right.
where's your breaking point? Like, and then how much
Yeah.
knowledge is really inside of that head of yours? It's like that's the hardest thing. And I hate like the A, B, and C level tech kind of
Yeah.
tiers. Like I just like I don't know. Yeah, I built transmissions for a long time. I still kind of do, and it reminds me of like the stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 shift kits. It's like it's just a bunch of hot air. Like what? Like where do you draw the line? When do you become
Right.
A to B to C? I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's super hard to to quantify that with people. Um, yeah, it's probably the biggest thing for us is we're looking for people that want to work together and that are open to not really criticism but just open to help. I'm a you know I'm a double master tech, or I was. I've let my certifications lapse because I don't fix cars anymore. But I was a double, a truck and a car master. I worked in cars for years, and I have a tech come in, and I see him out there struggling. It's like, I remember one guy, he was trying to get a wheel bearing out of a rear end or an axle bearing, and I'm watching him, and he's struggling. I go, hey, he wants to no, I got this. I'm like, okay, all right, fine. Half hour later, he's still struggling. Come back over. Hey, no, I got this. All right, fine. Another half hour goes by, and I just walk over and I just moved him out of the way. I'm like, look, get out of my way. I'm not trying to be mean to you. I want to help you. Selfishly, the faster you get this job done, the more money we all make. And I did whatever. 30 seconds is out, and it's like, if you need help, just take it. Because you don't know everything. I don't know everything. My guys come up to me and say, hey, what about this? I'm like, I ain't got no clue. Go ask one of the other guys. I don't know. But if it's something, just share the knowledge. And we're pretty blessed that most of our guys are built that way. They're willing to help. They're willing to take help. But we get those guys in that just don't want any part of that. And it's frustrating because you can help them, but they just don't want it. And so those are the types of people that we look for as people that are willing to accept the help. We have
Yeah,
that conversation.
try,
Like, can you
trying to
leave
get the
your
culture.
ego?
Yeah.
Can you leave your ego at home? If the answer is yes, still a lot of them can't, but at least if they say yes, there's a shot. Then we can all work together to create the best product possible. Because at the end of the day, the collective heads get together, they're going to do more than one person can do on a regular basis. So
Very well said. Yeah. I mean, that's what we're trying to do is build a team.
mm-hmm.
But I mean, it sounds like you once upon a time were on the floor and you're
Yes.
technician turned shop owner.
Yep.
So it's easy to, not easy, but I can reflect on those times of like, I just, leave me alone. Let me do my thing. I'll figure it out. I don't need help, and try to
Yeah.
find every way possible to get a job done without asking anybody. Cause if I asked for help, that means that I didn't do the job. Even if it was for like a
Right.
minute, right? Like even
Right.
if I got help for like 30 seconds, it's like, and then it was just like, nope,
Yeah.
I can't count that one because I didn't do it all by myself. It was such a
Mhm.
weird, yeah, it's a weird
Yeah.
thought to have.
Yeah. Well, it was for the longest time, when I first started, I worked in the shop. I was 16. I worked in a shop that there were a couple of really good technicians and they would help me from time to time. And then pretty much from like when I was 19 on through after I started my shop, I was always the guy in the shop. Nobody else knew more than me. And it wasn't, that wasn't like what I was seeking for. That's just the way it was. I'd never worked in a shop with a bunch of great technicians or anything. And I would have loved to have that amazing tech over there on that side of the shop that I could wander over and go, hey, what do you think about this? This is kicking my butt. I would have been good with that, because as a shop owner, that's what I did. That's how I went from being a great technician to a great shop owner. Is I went out and I asked people, hey, I got no clue what's going on here. Can you help me out? Unfortunately, there was people out there that were willing to, talk with me and, work with me and all that. So
There's a lot of help out there if you're willing to ask, but I think the problem is no one's willing to ask.
yeah,
And I mean, it's funny you said that. It reminds me of like asking for help, and they got to a certain point where like the questions I started having, they weren't easily answered. Like
yeah,
I'd have
yeah,
for a long
for
time.
sure.
I'd run into a problem, and I'd be like, "Oh, I don't know what happened here," and someone come over. Oh, it goes like this. Oh, okay, cool. And it was like all that
Sure.
stress is gone. Like, oh,
Yeah,
and it was like kind of a crutch for a long time. And then it got to a point where it was like, oh man, I don't know what the answer to that is. Like, you're gonna have to figure that out. Like, I gotta do what? And it's like then it just like keeps getting more and more and more, right? Like,
yeah,
and now like as the owner of the shop, it's like now I'm reaching out and asking a completely different question, right? Like, it has nothing to do
yeah,
with fixing cars, and yeah, slowly learning that like it's a whole different animal. I mean,
right,
it's
yeah,
business, and then it's automotive repair business, but
right,
I still have, like you do, still have guys walking up to you asking, hey, so how does this go, or what do you think about this, or what do you think the problem is with this, and you're like,
yeah,
oh, and you gotta like switch back and forth in your head, like, and try to keep a little bit of that technician mindset.
yeah,
It's like, man, this is no joke. It's a
yeah,
lot of
and
work.
absolutely, yeah, no, that's for sure. Yeah, I've got one guy. He's worked for me for 22, 23 years now, and he came to me. He came from Valvoline instant oil change, and he's a really good tech. But since he started working for me, he comes to me when he has technical problems, and he doesn't. Now he's a master tech himself, so he doesn't have as many problems, but he still does, and he'll still, he'll, hey, what do you think about this, and he'll run something by me, and sometimes he gets the old, I got no clue. You got to hit everything that I did. And other times, like, well, did you try this? Did you try that? How about this? And and
Here's
it's
pointing out, like, dude, you're the lead tech now, man. I don't know.
you're
You know
right.
more
I
than I
know.
do at this point.
I know. And I tell him that it's like, Jason, these are the kinds of questions that I usually tell people to go ask you.
Yeah.
But
That's the
it,
burden of the weight of the burden of being on the top like that. You don't realize that.
yeah,
You try so
yeah,
hard to like learn as much as you can, and you see those guys in the shop when you first start out, and you're like, man, I want to know everything that guy knows. You
right.
don't realize the gravity of that situation.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's a lot that comes with that. That's for sure.
There's a lot. Yeah. Oh man, and it's never ending. Especially in this day
Yeah.
and age.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's so much. I think today's technician has to understand the basics. You got to have that mechanical knowledge. The electrical, electronic knowledge helps, and then just know where to go to find the information you need to fix the cars, because there's just so much crazy off the wall stuff that I remember the first time I used Identifix, and I still remember it. It was a PT Cruiser, and a friend of mine was. She called. She said, "Oh, hey, my dash went completely dead, and I'm driving to Northern California today. It's on a Sunday." And I'm like, "Oh, bring it by. Let me look at it." And and I'm poking around. I didn't find anything. So, let me try this Identifix thing that I've never used. I know we have it. And I get in there and I type it in, and it says, "Disconnect the battery, hold the terminals together for 30 seconds. It'll restart the whatever module, and the dash will work." And I'm like, yeah, whatever. So I tried it. Of course it worked. And I'm like, yes, I'm a technician again.
I still got it.
Yep, exactly. But it really, you gotta be able to dig in and find that information on a lot of stuff, especially diagnostics and stuff.
Yeah,
Just,
service information. Got to
yeah,
learn how to read it. Got to know it.
yeah,
But I mean, I think, like you said, when we kind of start on this, is like when you're looking for technicians, you're looking for service advisors, you're looking for people in your shop. I think just the culture is the most important thing. You just
Yeah.
want to make sure that they're going to come in, they're going to hang out, everyone's going to have a good time, they're going to enjoy seeing each other every day.
Yep.
Because I mean, no one's worked on a 2025, so when that vehicle comes in rolling through the shop, no one's going to know what to do, right? We're going to
Right.
have a pretty good idea, like,
Yeah.
you're going to know how to
Yeah.
use your tools and all that, but obviously, like,
Mhm.
no one's going to have that answer. So yeah, I've slowly been learning that aspect too. Is like, I think it's just more important, rather than having some rock star come in with a bad attitude, I'd rather have someone younger, a little greener, that's like
Yes.
happy, smiling, like, what's next,
Yeah.
get
What can I
everybody
learn
excited,
today? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
get that vibe, like, that's
Yeah.
the new generation, right? They're all about the vibe.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And
And they're
and
not and they're
we're
not wrong. They're not wrong. I enjoy it,
no, no, and we're focusing on our culture a lot more. It's like, you know, 10 years ago it was shut up, get back to work. Yeah, I thanked you last week when you got your paycheck. And that was kind of it. There wasn't any of that. Hey, by the way, great job. Hey, thanks for the help. Hey, just thanks for being here. And there's a lot of other stuff that goes along with it. How about
Oh,
like just listening to your people?
yeah.
You know, I always tell them it's like I'll listen to whatever you say. I may not do whatever you suggest, but I will at least listen to you, and then I'll tell you why I'm not gonna do it if I'm not. And we've had some great ideas come from people when they come to work here and they're like, oh, we should try this and try that, and just listening, helps a lot. And then just
Yeah.
that simple, I walk through the shop every day, you know, hey guys, how's it going? One by one, I go to each guy, hey, how's it going? How's your weekend? Anything new? I don't stop and talk for 5 minutes with everybody. Every once in a while I'll stop and talk for a few minutes with somebody. It's just noticing that they're there, knowing who they are. It goes such a huge, it's just it goes so far with people.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you hit home with that, because that was kind of how I started I mean, about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when I took over the shop and started running it. That was my business practice, was like, hey, so you're here, and then I pay you, and then our relationship's done until next week.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you know
Right.
what I mean? Like, you show up, and for you showing up and doing the work that you tell me you can do, I then give you a paycheck, and then we're done. Like, that's
Yeah.
we're done, because that's how I was in it.
Right.
Like, that's the
Yeah.
shop I worked for. That's how I was. And so it's really tough when you were kind of brought up in that atmosphere, and then you're trying to, and then you start realizing that was wrong, or it's like,
Right.
not
Yeah.
that it's
For
wrong,
sure.
but it's just not working. Like, what's not working here? Oh, I guess it's me, and what
Right.
I've like based my entire existence on.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I go back to I mostly worked in gas stations, and the last guy that I worked for, I say this all the time. If he would have treated me halfway decent, I would probably still be working for him. But he just didn't, and I didn't need all that, hey, great job, rah rah, whatever. But someone would come in, and I'd be telling him about, oh, one of my customers came in, and he'd be like, they're not your effing customers, they're my customers. Well, they kind of asked for me, but whatever. Technically, you're right. But I look at them as my customers because I go out of my way to do whatever I can to take care of them. So it wasn't like a possessive statement that, these are my customers, you can't have them. But that's what he took it as. And so he would argue with me all the time about stuff like that. And it just got to the point where it's like, I need out of here. I need to open my shop. I need to take care of my customers. I need to take care of my employees. And I still didn't do it as well as I could have, but I did it a whole lot better than my last boss did. That's for sure. So
Yeah, I think that's that ego thing, right? Like, go and tech the shop owner, and you got this ego, and you got these people. It's like, no, they're here for me. That's why they're here. And it's like,
yeah,
no, they're here for your team, right? Like, that's what they
yeah,
like, and that's how I see it too. Like, I don't want to be the face. Like, I don't want people coming and asking for. That's why I didn't name the shop after my name. Is like, I
yeah,
didn't want that, but I think a lot more than I realized do. I think a lot of guys and girls, when they open their shop, they want to be that person where it's like,
mhm,
they're coming in because they like me and I'm the best person around.
yeah, right,
um I don't know. I don't
yeah,
know if
right,
that's the right thing to
yeah,
do.
yeah. I
What was
mean,
some
back
what's
when
up?
I started, I was a one man shop, and so guess what? Everybody asked for me. I was the face of the shop, and when I started growing and transitioning into a bigger shop, that, at first it was kind of like, God, I can't let anybody else take care of my customers. And then I'm like, well, if I'm going to grow, I have to let people take care of my customers. I got to let them give it a try. Some are going to fail. Some are, majority are going to work. It's going to work out. If it fails, then I'll go back in and help out. And, I still have customers that are 20, 25-year customers that still come in that, I see them once every 2, 3 years just in passing. And, it's tough letting go of your people, but you have to do it. It's the only way that you can grow.
What was another like pain point that you can remember as you're moving from like a single shop, and I mean even going from like just you running it to having a crew, then moving from that to like multiple shops, because that's like a big transition there. That's like resetting the whole game again. I feel like you get one shop and everything's buzzing, and then you're like, oh, I'll get another shop, and it's like that's like the next, like you're almost
right,
restarting, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's funny because when I started growing, and I was adding people, I added, supervisor, or, extra technicians. And I suddenly figured out that I have no idea how to market or advertise. Because when I was smaller, I didn't need to. I always had way too many cars. And so I joined a 20 group, thank God for my 20 group. They set me on a path that worked out really well. I learned how to market. I learned how to advertise. I learned how to do a lot of other things. I'm still learning how to do some of it. But then, as we grew, if I didn't have a good, general manager in place, I wouldn't have made that leap. And then once we made the leap, we had to figure out, we're in different areas of San Diego, so marketing is different. The customers are different. The employees are different. I mean, everything is different. And so, we had to figure out, each shop has to have its kind of own personality, even though they're all branded John's Automotive Care. We have a really good name in our town. So, so they all look the same. But they each have their own personalities, and if I tried to cram them all into one personality, we wouldn't be successful in any way, shape, or form. We just kind of have gone into the different communities and learned what we need to do. So that was a challenge for sure. The first shop, well, the second shop was 6 years ago, and that was 20 years of me saying there's not a chance in hell I'm ever going to have more than one shop. And then I don't know, one day I woke up and it was like, yeah, let's try something different here. And I don't
have enough problems on my plate. I'd like to do one more of this.
Right. Yeah. So I had a friend that just wanted out, and the price was right. And I'm like, if I'm ever going to figure out if this is going to work for me, this is the ideal opportunity. I don't want to go spend $500,000 to find out that this sucks and it's not going to work for me. So, and it took a little while to get the ball rolling, and then last year, actually I guess it was the end of the year before, we got an opportunity to add our third shop. But we're still learning that. Now that we're at this size, we've got a kind of a corporate team, so to speak, and I think we grew our corporate team a little bigger, a little faster than we should have. So, we just it's just learning the nuances. Like I said, it's one shop. You learn the nuances of the one shop, and then you go. Now we're learning the nuances of all the shops, not to mention, payroll that used to take 10 minutes because there was 2 employees now takes 3 people half a day to do, because we got this, this has to be done, this has to be done, and then this has to be done, this has to be done. And then, it's, kind of learning the time frames on stuff. I can't just wait till 3:00 now to get my payroll done by 4, because it takes half the day to do it. So, so those are some of the bigger challenges, I think, is just learning the nuances of the growth, because you can't just do everything the way you used to.
Right. I mean, like, yeah, literally everything has to change.
Yeah.
And stuff that you don't even think about. Like, that's like a good point, like payroll. Like, oh man, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You got 25, 30 people, And not only
Yep.
that, but as an S corp or an LLC, like that changes all the rules too, because now you have more than 15 employees. You have like a whole different set of
Yep.
rules. So everything that you've done for the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years has to change. It's all new now because it's all a
Right.
different ball game. It's,
Yeah. Yep.
oh man, it's like what a challenge to just dive in head first. But I really liked your comment about like the learning the different kind of markets that are around, because it kind of goes against everything. Like I read a lot of books about expanding and franchising, and so
Mhm.
they want you to get a cookie cutter motto and then just duplicate. But I mean, you're right, you have to really be kind of custom tailored to like the community you're in,
Yeah.
the vehicles that are coming in, because you can market till you're blue in the face for a certain vehicle, but if you have something else coming in head over tails and you're not even paying for the vehicle to come in, then that's the work you do. Like
Yeah. Right.
if you want
Yeah.
Subarus all the time or Hondas all the time, but you're out in the ranch area and you got nothing but ranch trucks coming in, well, you're working on ranch trucks. Like what?
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what that's
No,
what you're gonna do.
yeah. Absolutely. Like I said, all my shops look the same. They're painted the same, kind of signage, all of that. You walk in and you drive by, you go, oh look, I didn't know John's is out here now. And they're very recognizable. But I learned years ago. I've been a part of my Napa business development group for years, and when I first joined, we had I think 15 different businesses, or we had 15 different auto care centers were in the group, and we always did group marketing for the first like 5 years. And so there's shops all over San Diego, different areas, and not one single marketing thing that we tried worked for every shop. And so we tried, I don't know, we tried the penny saver, right? And so the shops that were in East County did great with it. The shops in central San Diego did okay. The shops near the beach did terrible. And it's not quite that way, but you kind of get the picture. And so then we're like, okay, we're going to forget that. We're going to do something else. So we did something else. And now the East County one that did well with the first one, the second one didn't get anything out of it. And so it was always just different. There was never one area that the marketing worked really well. So that was kind of like my first introduction to the fact that if I'm going to go into a different area, I've got to figure out some different ways to market. We still market internally the same way for the most part, but to get to market externally to people that haven't been in, that definitely looks different, from shop to shop.
Well, then tracking it too. And I think that's missed a lot of the time too, because there's so many marketing companies out there right now that are like the all-in-one, where
Yeah.
you're just like, oh, I'll spend $1,500 or $2,000 a month and set it and forget it.
Yeah.
Like these shops will get it and like, oh, that's my marketer. They do my marketing. What do? Well, I don't know. They do all the marketing. It's like $1,500 a month, and they bring me cars in, and
Yeah.
it's like, you're not tracking it. You're not like,
Yeah.
do you
Right.
know how many's coming? And that's a learning curve for me. I mean, that hits home for me too, because I've just in the last 3 months really like dove into that and like broke that up and like, no, I want you to do this. I want you to, and I got like 3 or 4 different companies now that I'm using that I can like hold accountable for what they're telling me they can do for me, because $1,500 a month is, I mean, it adds up.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
It's a small amount of the budget when you're trying to get like 4 or 6%, and you're trying to keep that certain amount. But if you can cut that in half, keep them accountable, and then it's like that's $300 more or $400 more you can put towards mailers or flyers or whatever.
Yeah.
The next thing you want to try out is.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Tracking. Yeah, that's huge. And if you've got like when we were smaller, we actually tracked the first 3 visits for everybody, and we'd see, okay, this advertising thing, we only get first visits, we never get a second and third, which,
Oh, that's interesting. That's a good way to look at it too. Yeah.
yes. So if you just track the first visit, it was a success, but there was no return, or the return was they came in for a smog test and that's it. They didn't spend other dollars.
Yeah, that can kind of skew your numbers up when you're looking at marketing a little bit, right? Like, yeah, because that's like the coupon clippers.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, we
So
get a really good return on it. It's like, you got to do that. It's like Google ads, right? Like, so
yeah.
if you do Google ads, you're going to have to do Google ads for the rest of your life until
Yeah.
you get your organic search, rolling on your website. So it's like the same thing with the coupons. I feel like, where if you just got coupon clippers coming in all the time, well, you're always going to have to pay for them to come in.
Hmm.
But that's a great point to say. If you can get 2 or 3 back out of one, I mean, that's a hell of a return right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And then what you would find is that you would, you know, you would see that, okay, like Groupon. There was a guy in my 20 group. He was our biggest shop for a long time. They sold 1,200 Groupons, right? For the next 6 months, his ARO like went from $600 to $200. It just messed him up for 6 months. He had 1,200 new customers, but 1,150 of them never came back.
Oh,
But he had
man.
to, and they all didn't come in, but a good portion of them did, and so it just messed him up. So you got to look at the visits, and what another thing that we did when we used to track all that. We went from, I think it was one advisor to 2 advisors, and the new advisor, he came from the area. He was really good with customers, and so we're like, okay, we're gonna try to push more of the new customers towards him. And all of a sudden, we noticed our average RO on new customers went from $800 to $100 in the first month. And so we're like, hey, what's going on? Why is this? Oh, I never sell anything to a new customer. And it's like, let me show you something. And I showed him, before he started, here's our average RO for new customers. It's $800. He's like, whoa. And after that, he sold like everybody the same way, because at the end of the day, for us, we don't sell stuff. We look at your car, we report to you what we find. This looks great. This looks okay. This needs to be done now. And we supply information, and we help people make a decision that's best for them. At the end of the day.
Right. Yeah. Client advocacy. I mean, that's,
Yep.
and I mean, there's a lot, and I don't know if you're on the Facebook forums or not, but there's a lot of talk on the social media about talking about DVIs and how that's just like ripping people off. And it really goes down to just who's selling what to who, right? I mean, anything could be made to look like a bad idea if all your goal is just to sell, So yeah, it's important to think about it that way. Is like, what is your vision? What's your goal? And I think that's it. Client advocacy. This is what we're recommending. This is what we're advising. You can do it or you don't have to do it. And that's
Right.
why I've always charged for the inspections. When they come in, we get charged $99. Hey, we're good here. Like, you've paid us, we did our thing. You can do this or not. There's no high pressure sales to try to like make it up for that that in quotes free inspection, and
Yeah.
it works well for us. But I wanted to ask you a little bit before we get out of here about the BDG groups,
Sure.
because I know you're a big part of those. And if anybody's looking at joining one or doesn't have one in their area, so currently I'm working with a lot of other Napa auto care centers in my area to try to get one put together.
Great.
And I just, I guess one of the things everybody wants to know, because they got to pay money to be into the group, right?
Yeah.
What do I get out of it? Like what is it that benefits me if I got to pay to be a part of this group?
Right. And it's funny because we've had 3 very different BDG groups in the 25 years that I've been here in San Diego. And the very first one that when I first joined, I walked into, they just got together, hung out, talked about whatever. That was it. At the end of the day, which was good. They didn't pay a lot of money, but if nothing else, if I had a problem, I could call you up and say, hey, I saw you at the meeting last, whatever. I got a question for you. I hear, I remember you're the BMW guy. Oh yeah, sure, not a problem. It opens that door to ask questions of people that might be able to help you. Then I discussed the group that we did the marketing together, which none of the stuff we ever did really worked well for me. So And then we transitioned into the one we've had for about the last 10 years. And we do community service. We give away a vehicle or two. This year we've decided that we're going to just support. So like I work with the Boys and Girls Clubs. So the BDG is going to support one of my events. If somebody else does, breast cancer, they're going to support their event. Somebody else is going to do a school, whatever. So we're going to work with each other's stuff, and that comes back to it only works if you tell your customers what you're doing. So I've done community service since I opened my shop. I worked with the Boys and Girls Club for 23, 24 years. I think my first year I started working. I started working with the clubs. It's I found, like when I first started doing community stuff, I was doing it for the right reasons, but I didn't tell anybody because I felt like if I told people, they were going to look down and be like, "Oh, you're just doing this."
You're just doing that for the publicity.
And so for quite a few years, we just kind of putzed along. We did our thing, but what I discovered is if you're doing it for the right reasons, that's awesome. But you have to tell people, and if one of the big reasons that you have to tell people, like I do a toy drive. I've done a toy drive for the last 20 years. I have customers that come in June, July. You guys are doing your toy drive, right? Because I've been shopping and I got toys. Oh, absolutely. People want to do good things, but they don't know who they can trust. It's kind of like, that homeless guy comes up to you on the street corner and asks for a buck. What's the first thing that goes through your mind? Well, is he going to buy alcohol, drugs?
What's it for?
You don't know. There's that lack of trust, and it's the same with a lot of charities and stuff. Is this really a good charity? Well, by me putting my name on the Boys and Girls Club, my customers know me, like me, love me, and they're going to be like, well, if he's working with them, it's got to be a good charity. So this is awesome. Now I get I can work with them as well. Now I have a place that I can put my efforts into, and they're not going to match my efforts, but it's just it gives them that comfort that, hey, I'm going to do that. So with the vehicle donation, we've given it to some military. We've given to families that we had one lady 8 or 9 years ago that she had some autoimmune problems. Her daughter was allergic to food, couldn't eat, had a feeding tube. That's the only way she could eat. Son, heart problems. She spent all her money. Her transmission blew up in her vehicle. We gave her a van. We put a Christmas tree on the van because they didn't have anything. We put decorations in the van. We gave her presents for the kids, $1,500, whatever it was. To this day, she still comes in. She still struggles, but she used that van for 6 or 7 years, and then she got into a different vehicle. And we still service her vehicles, and half the time we don't even charge her. But we don't tell that story very often. Originally we put it out there, but we've given away 1 or 2 vehicles for the last, I think, 10 years. But it comes back to, we have to promote it. Put it on your Facebook page, you put it on your website and things like that. Otherwise, you really don't get much benefit out of it other than you feel good, right, at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, you gotta. I mean, the whole point is to show others that are in need that you're willing to do that as well. It's not so much being selfish and trying to use that, right? It's definitely, I think, a little bit of hey, if you're in need, come ask. We're willing to help if you actually need the help. But it's like the homeless guy with the dollar. It's like, do you actually need the help right now?
Right.
Do you actually need this? But without you spreading the word, knowing that you're willing to participate in a program like that, no one else that actually needs that help is going to come up and ask you, because most of the people that are, most people that need help don't ask.
Right?
The
Oh,
ones that actually
absolutely.
can use and need the help, they're the ones that usually don't ask.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. But that's one of the key things that works for the Napa group. Um, we have kind of a hybrid one. It used to be like I was a president of our BDG group a long time ago. But what we found is that the shop owners don't have the bandwidth to successfully run the group. We just don't have, we don't have the knowledge, we don't have the time, we don't have the resources. So, um, one of the Napa guys now runs it, and he does a lot of the stuff. So we built a website. Um, as a BDG member, you get some training that's free. Um, you get some other things that are paid for. So we get our value out. I think we charge $150 a month per member. Um, and then we do this other thing where we do the vehicle giveaways or whatever charity community event. Um, so there's a lot of different things that you can do. Um, Basing it off marketing probably isn't the best idea, just because of the fact that, like I said, you're going to find, the marketing is not going to work well across the board with all your members. So,
It opens conversations, though. I mean, it definitely sounds like there's a lot of value built into just having a community like that. I mean, like
yes,
you kind of started this whole thing with talking about the 20s group. I
yep,
mean, and it's like how powerful are those? And we're part of one as well. That's
yeah,
got 8 or 9 different shops in it as well. And we
yeah,
meet up once a month with our composite partners, and every
yeah,
quarter we all meet together. And
yeah.
having something local, like, so you've seen the difference between those two. Do you find more or less value in something local versus that's nationwide? Do you see any
There's
difference in that?
there's value in both.
Yeah.
I'm a huge proponent of joining organizations that are going to have a positive impact on your business. Um, there's not, there's not just like this one group did everything for me. I'm part of ASCCA. I was part of a 20 group. I was part of the Napa Business Development Group. I'm part of some other groups, and I've all gotten great stuff out of each one. You make, you meet people, you make friends. You learn. You just learn from people. Just having conversations. The other cool thing, like I'll go and visit people's shops now. I've been around so long. Um, I'll just go visit people, and we have conversations like, hey, come look at my shop, tell me what you think. And so I go and I look, and it's like, ooh, look at that, that's awesome. I never would have thought of that. So I go, I help them, and in turn I learn. I get something out of it as well. And so, like, let's say you do a BDG group. Maybe you guys should, you know each meeting have a meeting in somebody else's shop. you know and offer, hey, let's go 30 minutes early and we'll take a tour of the shop,
Yeah.
and we can talk about whatever. We can share ideas and thoughts, and because people will pick up a lot of stuff, when they'll just see something and be like, oh, that's awesome. Because we can't think of everything.
Right.
We only know what we know. So when you go to other shops, that's really cool. The national stuff is different because you can talk more about pricing and things like that. If you start talking about pricing with guys in your neighborhood, it tends to get kind of, it's kind of a gray area.
Yeah, look at that. It's
Just
a bit of a gray area.
yeah.
First thing
So
everybody wants to do, what's your labor rate? Like,
yeah,
hold on a second. Let's
yeah,
back up a little bit here. Let's not
yeah,
make this weird.
yeah. There's a better way of coming up with your labor rate than asking me what mine is. So
There it is. That was well said. I'm
yeah,
gonna steal that one if you don't mind.
yeah,
That
absolutely.
that was simple and to the point.
Yep,
Oh,
yep,
that's great. And
yeah,
I think the main thing though is just open the doors and realizing that we're all like not in competition with one another, and
yes.
like realizing that your neighbor, like we're all comrades, like we're all trying to do this thing together. And I
Mhm.
think when you first, I mean, especially when I first started, it's like you're just trying to be better than everybody else in the area, right? Like, and it's like, why am I fighting the community that we can build together and grow stronger? So,
Right. Well, this is how I look at it. So I'm in San Diego. I'm gonna guess there's 2 million cars in San Diego. Even with my three shops, I can't even come close to fixing 3 million cars, 2 million cars, 1 million car, whatever. I can't do it,
Right.
and do I want to compete against the guy that's going to charge $75 an hour, that's going to give no warranty, has no insurance, and is going to be out of business in 6 months? Or am I going to try to help the shops around me to come up and charge the right prices, take care of their customer? There's, I don't know, 30, 40 shops in my neighborhood. We can't fix all the cars that are in our neighborhood. There's no way. So that's kind of how I look at it. And selfishly, I want the shops around me to charge the right price, charge for their work, don't give stuff away. There's I always tell people that the best way to take care of your customers, make sure you keep your doors open and be there a year or two from now when they have a warranty issue.
Right. And pay your guys enough so that they're happy to show up the next day
Absolutely.
and the next year, and they can go buy a house and they can take care of their family and so on and so forth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, John, this has been good. I'm glad you came on.
Yeah.
I told you we'd find stuff to talk about.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, for 25, 30, you said you've been 25 years?
Yeah, 26. 26
you
years.
got stories to tell, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm just barely scratching the surface, so I'm glad I was able to get just a little bit of your knowledge from you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you ever have, a certain topic that you want to go over or something, you can feel free to reach out. The community stuff, I'm really, that's a big thing for me. I'm always happy to talk about the community stuff, and, anything else, I'm happy to chat.
That's awesome. And the name of the shop is John's
Automotive Care
down in San Diego. I'll have to stop by next time I'm in the area.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just don't come early in the morning. I tend to not be here early in the morning. 9 o'clock at night, there's a better chance I'll be here.